This story was about the very first ordinary student who was given an opportunity to enter a sorcery school, named Arnold's Academy, which was usually for noble students. His name was Ray White. On his first day at school, he was amazed at how big the school when he entered the gate. Someone accidentally bumped onto him, which he immediately grabbed so the person would not fall. The girl was impressed by his gesture, but when she found out that he was not a noble, the girl was disgusted that Ray held her hand. Albert Allium suddenly came and seemed pissed because he was unable to accept that someone like Ray had entered their school. While he was bad-mouthing and trying to insult Ray, another student came, named Amelia Rose. She stopped Albert in his rant. Albert had no other choice but to leave Ray alone. Amelia approached Ray and they introduced themselves to each other. Because of her family's influence to the nobles, she was also being chosen as the representative of the new students in the academy. Ray introduced himself to the whole class and sat down to his assigned seat. Then suddenly he remembered the previous war. He lost his focus, so his teacher, named Gray, threw a piece of chalk at him that he was able to catch. Then their teacher continued his discussion and told the class about the 7 grand sorcerers around the world. One of its members was their school principal, named Abby Garnett, who was a blaze sorcerer. He further discussed about the Iceblade sorcerer who suddenly disappeared after the end of the Far East War. He mentioned one of the reasons why they were studying at the academy, and it was to become powerful and be one among the 7 grand sorcerers one day. Then Albert raised his hand and asked why there was an ordinary person studying at the academy if this was the case and the goal of the students in the school. Their teacher found his question insulting and told Albert that everyone who studies in the academy passed the exam. While in the library, Ray approached one of his classmates who was looking for a book about Ainsworth. This girl introduced herself as Elisa Griffith and they found out that they were both fans of Dr. Ainsworth. Ray noticed Elisa's beautiful hair and also learned that she was a half-elf. She told him that her mother was an elf, and because of her pointed ears, other people made fun of her, so she tried to hide them. Ray stopped her from covering them and told her that she was a beautiful woman. After the class, Ray went straight to his room where he saw his classmate, named Evie, who was already there. Because they had something in common, they could easily get along with each other. The next morning while Ray was running, he met another beautiful student. Her name was Rebecca Bradley, a third-year student of the academy. Like Amelia's family, their family also belonged to the top 3 nobles. Since Ray did not know anything about the top 3 noble families, Evie explained it to him. He mentioned that these families were the Rose, Bradley and Olgren. These royal families were almost equal when it comes to their political influence. When they got inside the school, Ray bumped into another girl and it was Clarice Cleveland. Since Ray was being a gentleman and said something nice to her, Clarice liked him. After that, Ray went the principal of the academy who used to be his colonel when they were still in the service during the war. They both reminisce about the past when they were still together in their work. The next day, Ray and Albert had a duel. When the duel started, Albert immediately attacked, but Ray easily avoided it and aimed his sword on Albert's neck. In Albert's anger, he attacked again, but Ray just broke his wooden sword. Their classmates could not believe what they saw, while Abby was happy that Ray was enjoying in the academy being a student. One day, Ray went to the club of Evie, which was an environmental research club, and decided to join it. The club members were surprised when Ray showed his gold hunter license. Because Ray was not satisfied with just one club, he went to Rebecca's gardening club. He joined it too, even the club members here were all girls. But Ray had one problem because one of the members, named Dina, did not agree to let him join the club. Rebecca thought of a way and she asked Dina to put Ray into a test. Rebecca told her that she could only reject his application once she was not satisfied on the output of the challenge given. So Dina asked Ray to make a new garden at the top of a building and she told him that he would be given a week to finish it. Rebecca visited and brought him food. Ray found out that Rebecca was the student council president. When they noticed the 2 students training below, Rebecca mentioned the approaching magic Chevalier. She asked Ray if he had plans to join and Ray said that he would think about it first. On the 4th day, all members of the club were amazed to see the garden made by Ray. For this reason, he passed the test and became the member of the club. Abby asked Ray to investigate a spy in the kingdom who was from the Empire. They suspected that this spy even possibly made a way to enter the school. Teacher Gray informed his students that they would do a practical exercise in Kafka's forest. The class formed groups with 4 members each, and Ray had Evie, Elisa and Amelia in his group. Their classmates could not believe that Amelia joined their group, and this made Albert even more angry. When the day of the practical exercise came, Teacher Gray explained their mission and that they had 24 hours to do it. At the beginning of the practical exercise, they faced a monster which Ray immediately defeated. And in the distance they saw the first stamp. In the evening they talked about the amazing things that Ray had done that day. So Ray made an excuse that he learned those while he was in the backwoods forests, but Amelia was a bit suspicious on his reason. While the rest of his companions were sleeping, Ray remembered what was told to him by one of the closest persons in his life. He was warned about keeping his true identity a secret from others. The next day, they heard a woman scream, so Ray went to her direction immediately. He saw from a distance a monster attacking Albert's group. As Ray got closer to the monster, it attacked him, but it could not hit Ray, until he managed to stab the monster and killed it. And because Ray defeated the monster by himself, Amelia became even more suspicious of him. In the distance, someone was hiding and threw something at the monster, then the monster came back to life. Ray fought it again, but he was struggling because its skin was already hardened. He was about to use his power when Amelia suddenly attacked the monster. Evie and Elisa also helped her, and this gave Ray a chance to defeat the monster. After the practical exercise, Amelia's group got the highest grade. But not everyone was happy because of Ray, who was just an ordinary student, was in the group. One day, Ray visited Lydia Ainsworth, the woman who took care of him when he was young. They talked about Lydia's current studies and about eugenics that wanted to recruit her to be their member. But Lydia rejected it because she felt something wrong about this organization. Then Ray took her for a walk outside, and they also talked about the magic Chevalier. She told him that she won in this competition 4 times in a row. And she thought that he could also do it once he joined the magic Chevalier. But Ray did not think the same because he did not want to be the center of attention of other people. Before Ray left, Lydia gave him a notebook. The next day, while Ray and Rebecca were talking, Ray asked her if there was anyone from the Olgren family studying at the academy, since this also belonged to the top 3 noble families. Rebecca told him that Olgren family members usually study at Diam's Academy of Sorcery. She added that since this family also had an eldest daughter, she was sure to be one of her rivals. The school held a contest among the students to look for a representative for each level. When Amelia defeated her opponent, she challenged Ray. So he accepted her challenge, and their fight began immediately. While they were fighting, Ray remembered the times when he was still being taught how to use sword. He had a chance to attack Amelia, but he suddenly felt something strange on his body that made him let go of his wooden sword and fell to his knees. Because of this, Amelia was declared the winner, and Ray congratulated her. At the canteen, while they were having a snack, Albert challenged Ray to a duel. Ray accepted this challenge, and they held it in the forest. Clarice noticed that there was a barrier placed in the area. They were surprised that Albert wanted them to use a real sword on their fight. Albert attacked immediately, which Ray avoided, and he picked up his sword as well. From a distance, they did not know that there was someone watching them. Ray noticed that something was not right with Albert, and he seemed to be got carried away by his anger. Albert used a fireball, but Ray just split it using his sword. Albert attacked again with more fireballs, but Ray just dodged them all. In Albert's anger, he used Fabry's Draco, which was easily cut by Ray. Because of this, Albert was dumbfounded and fell to his knees, realizing his defeat. Ray was about to tell them his true identity when his companions were suddenly pulled down to the ground, which turned out to be caused by the barrier. After a while, the one who had been watching them lately and the one who did this, appeared to them. It turned out to be their teacher Gray. Ray immediately thought that Gray was also a member of the eugenics. It turned out that Gray was also the reason for the sudden disappearance of the other students. Gray started to make his attacks, but since Ray was just avoided them, Gray aimed at Amelia and others. In this situation, Ray released his true power as an Iceblade sorcerer, causing him to counter Gray's attack for Amelia, and this power also changed the color of his hair. Ray created weapons, and when Gray attacked, it was only erased by Ray's Iceblades. In his frustration, Gray used his causality Draco, but it just disappeared before it could even reach Ray. Gray was shocked and was about to run away, so Ray used the Iceblades to stop him. He was so scared that he tried to convince Ray to join the eugenics because he was sure that Ray would be given a high position for he possessed strong power. While Gray was begging, he tried to attack Ray but he was shocked when it did not work on him. It was here that Gray activated the Dark Triad system and injected it into his brain. Gray's appearance gradually changed and made himself a monster. They fought again but no matter what attack Gray did, those were not working on Ray. After a while, Evie and the other noticed that Ray's body was gradually being covered in ice. Because Ray was already affected by his power, Gray also noticed it. Gray took this opportunity and rushed again to attack, causing Ray's Iceblade to break. But Gray did not know that Ray would use the Ice Blossom Profusion. Gray was swallowed by the tornado, then he froze and was surrounded by flowers. After the fight, Ray fell to his knees, he deactivated the Chronos lock and lost his consciousness. In the past, Lydia saved Ray, who was a war orphan. When Ray woke up, he was quickly surrounded by Carol and Lydia, who became fond of him. When Carol found out that Ray needed to be put in an orphanage, she argued with their commander. The commander asked Lydia what was the best thing to do with Ray. Before Lydia could answer, she noticed Ray peeking through the door. Lydia asks Ray what he wanted and he replied that he wanted to stay by their side. Because of this, Lydia decided that she would adopt Ray with the help of Abby and Carol. Their commander agreed to this as long as it would not affect their work. Ray's training had also started there and his admittance to join their army. 6 years later, at the height of the Far East War, Ray was brought in the battle and was able to use the Iceblades. One day, Ray saw the tragedy of Howard's death. Because of this, he used his power too much. When he regained consciousness, Lydia was beside him, even Abby and Carla were also there. After Lydia and Carla left, it was when Abby told Ray about Lydia's plea to allow her to study at Arnold's Academy so that she could live a normal life. When Abby left, Amelia and the others visited him. At that moment, he confessed that he was the Iceblade sorcerer and one of the 7 grand sorcerers. He also told the story of what happened in the Far East War where he overused his power, and this was the reason why he used a Chronos lock to prevent it from happening again. At night, Albert visited him and apologized about what happened. Ray accepted it and he also gave advice to Albert. Because of what happened to Gray, he was replaced by Carol as their new homeroom teacher. Meanwhile, the competitions were still ongoing for those who wanted to be chosen to represent the Magic Chevalier. Amelia got a spot to represent in the said competition and so did Albert. Ray read what Amelia was thinking, so one day he offered her a help to train her for the upcoming Magic Chevalier. The next day, Ray immediately started the training with Amelia. Because of the difficult trainings that Ray asked her to do, Amelia even thought that she was in hell. When he had a chance to talk to Rebecca and Dina, he asked if they had an idea how strong was the eldest daughter of the Olgren family. Rebecca admitted that Ariana was really strong. Dina added that even she was younger than her, Ariana was more graceful in her movements. One day, Ray pretended to be a woman and wore the uniform of Diam's Academy to talk to Ariana Olgren, who was always bothering Amelia. When he arrived at Diam's Academy, he saw a child crying and looking for her sister. Ray introduced herself as Lily and found out that this girl, named Tiana, was Ariana's younger sister. Since he was also looking for Ariana, he decided to bring Tiana along to find its sister. While they were looking for Ariana, the students were staring at Ray because of his beauty. Tiana saw her sister having coffee and it was the moment that Ray met Ariana. While they were having coffee, Ariana immediately found out that Ray was not a student of Diam's Academy. This was when Ray used his true voice and spoke, which surprised Ariana. Ray introduced himself and found out that the news about him being the first ordinary student to enter Arnold's Academy had also reached the Diam's Academy. Ray challenged her to a duel and Ariana gladly accepted it. When the fight started, Ariana became aggressive on her attacks until she broke Ray's wooden sword, causing the duel to end immediately. After Tiana left, Ray informed Ariana that he was currently training Amelia for the upcoming Magic Chevalier. Ariana was surprised that Amelia has a friend like Ray and she said that she would look forward to the upcoming competition. When Ray returned to Arnold's Academy, he met a woman running towards his direction and was crying. She was about to fall when Ray moved fast to catch her. Her name was Maria and she was Rebecca's younger sister. She actually came there and would like to know if this school was the right one for her. And because of Ray, she made up her mind that she would study in the academy next year. One day, Ray took Amelia and his other friends to Lydia's place. When they entered her house, they introduced themselves one by one. Then they found out that Lydia was also a platinum hunter. When Amelia introduced herself, Lydia told her that she wanted to talk to Amelia with just the two of them. Then Carla begged Ray to help her prepare their snack. While preparing, Carla informed Ray that the Grim Reapers of the Empire had already taken their action. She suspected that it had something to do with the upcoming magic Chevalier because many influential nobles would be attending the tournament. While in the other room, Lydia and Amelia discussed about Ray's letters that contained informations about Amelia. According to Ray's letter, he knew something was bothering Amelia but he did not know what to do. So Lydia gave advice to Amelia on how to deal with what was bothering her. When the day of the Magic Chevalier came, Ariana approached and talked to Amelia. Then they both promised to face each other in the finals. When it came to the semi-finals for the first year level, Amelia was able to compete against Gerard from Mercross Academy. Abby explained the rules and it include the rose on each player's chest must not be removed during the fight. When the fight started, Gerard attacked first, but Amelia easily avoided it. Gerard attacked again, but he stepped on something that was activated and burned the rose on his chest. Because of this, Amelia was declared the winner. Ray went to Albert to give him the rose because he would be the next one to fight. Albert's opponent for the semifinals was Ariana and when their fight started, they used their swords both exchanged attacks. Ariana managed to knock Albert down but he still did not give up and charged onto her again. Albert was able to remove Ariana's sword from her hands. But Ariana broke his sword and punched him in the stomach causing him to be thrown out of the ring and Ariana was declared the winner. Because of this, Amelia and Ariana would face each other for the finals of the rookie bracket. While Ray was walking, the leader of their club approached him. He took him to a room where Lydia and the others were waiting. Then they introduced to Ray the Hale family who was responsible for the kingdom's intelligence agency. At this moment, Ray found out that Carla was a member of the Hale family and the leader of their club, named Lex Hale, was also her brother. Abby said that the Grim Reaper from the Empire had entered their territory and their target was to abduct the children of the top noble families. So Ray was assigned to keep an eye on the surroundings and it was possible that he might face them because he was also a student. As the contest continued, Rebecca had already advanced to the finals. Suddenly, Clarice and Elisa talked to Ray about Amelia because she had not left her room yet. They also noticed something strange in her voice and it sounded like she was struggling about something. Their attention was suddenly grabbed by the match that had just ended because Lucas Frost from Mercross Academy defeated his opponent in just 2 seconds. As Lucas was leaving the arena, he and Ray stared at each other. At night, Ray went to Amelia's room to talk to her. When Ray entered her room, he saw her sitting at the bedside and Amelia told him how she felt. She informed Ray that she struggled to maintain her image as the eldest daughter of the Rose family. She felt like she was just a bird in a cage and even asked herself why she was still alive if she was to suffer in pain like this. Ray suddenly told Amelia that he would try to live to be by her side and because of this, he is able to ease the burden that Amelia felt. The next day, the final match under the rookie bracket was held. Lex noticed the light coming from the viewers and told Dina that he needed to go somewhere. While Amelia was on her way to the ring, Lex informed Ray about the disappearance of Clarice and 8 other students. Ray decided that he would search downstairs while Lex must go to Lydia and Carla. When the fight started between Amelia and Ariana, Ariana threw her sword and released her power. She quickly went behind Amelia and gave her a strong punch in the stomach. Ariana attacked again causing Amelia to almost fell from the ring. On the third attack, Amelia prepared and released her power. On the other hand, Ray saw Clarice and the other students who were unconscious so he approached them immediately. When Clarice woke up they saw an interference spell. After a while, the so-called Grim Reapers also appeared to them. Ray picked up Clarice and as they ran away from the enemies he released his power. Ray fought the Grim Reapers but they used the interference spell. So he used the anti-material field against it. While Amelia and Ariana continued their fight, they noticed something strange on their respective powers. Carol immediately found out that it was the effect of Ray's anti-material field. When the enemies was about to run away, he used the diamond dust and defeated all the enemies. Lex also came to take care of the Grim Reapers and other students, so Ray and Clarice quickly went out to see what was going on with Amelia's fight. Ariana released her full power and with her speed and strength she beat up Amelia. Amelia was losing hope, but when Ray screamed to cheer her on, she suddenly released her intense power. She used the butterfly effect on her opponent that every time Ariana hit the butterfly she was suddenly moved to another butterfly. But Ariana still did not give up and continued to attack until Amelia was already experiencing signs of overheat. This did not hinder Amelia and their fight continued until they made their last attack. Then Ariana woke up lying on Amelia's lap. She talked and praised Amelia for her victory and this made her cry for happiness. Then it was announced that Amelia was the champion for the Magic Chevalier rookie bracket. The day had arrived for Rebecca's final match and her opponent was Lucas. When the fight began, Rebecca used her power to see his attacks but Lucas's used his afterglow blackout. She did not see his attack causing Rebecca's rose on her chest to be removed. Because of this, Lucas was announced the champion of their level. When Ray and Lucas met after the fight, he immediately knew that Lucas had inherited the peerless blade sorcerer. Ray wondered why Lucas joined this competition and Lucas told him that he wanted to show Ray that the peerless blade was the strongest of the 7 sorceries' power. Abby and the others went to the Grim Reapers that Ray caught and Carol used her power on them. When Carol asked who ordered them, the heads of the Reapers suddenly exploded one by one, so they were not able to get any information. Meanwhile, Evan made a deal with Rebecca's father which included his marriage to its daughter. The next day, Dina went to Ray to tell him about it. So Ray went to see Rebecca to congratulate her on her engagement. On the other hand, the eugenicists found out that Rebecca was the vessel they were looking for, so they planned to kidnap her. On the meeting for the upcoming cultural festival, Ray's entire class agreed that they would build a maid cafe. Ray went to the student council office to get an approval on this and he noticed that the other members of the student council were not there. Then Rebecca told him that other members would not be coming back because of her engagement. This was because their secretary, named Cornea, was supposed to be Evan's fiancée. The engagement made her look bad for taking Evan from Cornea. The other members felt sad about this so they supported Cornea and left the office. This was the reason why only the 2 of them were doing all the work in the student council. Because of this, Ray volunteered to help them with student council activities. When Ray left, Dina chased him to tell him what she noticed about Rebecca's engagement to Evan. She could feel that Rebecca was not telling her something and she wanted to ask Ray for help to find out about it. Ray did not think twice to help her, so one night, Ray asked Lydia and Carla for help to investigate Evan and his engagement with Rebecca. While Rebecca was taking a bath, she thought about what she always dreamed and she also saw Ray there. At that moment, her other eye was strangely bleeding. As Rebecca was leaving school, Ray met her and offered that he would accompany her home. Then they met Evan on the way, so he was the one who took Rebecca home. While Ray was watching them, Lex came to him. He brought Ray to the meeting with Lydia and after the investigation, they suspected that Evan was just after on Rebecca's sorcerer's eye. So they thought that it was possible that Evan was the collector of sorcerer's eyes and he might also had connection with the eugenics. While Rebecca was crying in her room she went to the time of the Far East War. There she saw Ray crying and trying to save Howard but Lydia knew that it was too late. So she forced him to regain his courage because they were still in the middle of the war. The next day, while they were in the student council office, Rebecca remembered what she saw last night whenever she watched Ray. Maria came to school to talk to Ray about Rebecca. Because Ray knew that Maria was worried about her sister, he made a promise to her that he would protect Rebecca. One night, Ray dreamed of the day that they buried Howard. He saw Rebecca there who was questioning his true identity. When he answered this, he suddenly woke up. Then blood also dripped from his eye, so he went out to wash it. When the day of the cultural festival came, Ariana and Tiana went there. Maria also came to their maid cafe and she met Lily again. After that, as Maria was on her way home from the cultural festival, she met a woman with white hair just like hers. This woman told her that Rebecca was going to die. Ray also learned about it from Lydia and shortly after, Rebecca's father showed up. He explained the situation of his daughter and asked Ray for help to save her. While Maria could only cry while hearing Rebecca's suffering. The next day, Maria returned to Maid's Cafe, then she talked to Ray. While Rebecca was walking, Evan met her and they suddenly disappeared. When Maria left, Ray told Amelia that he needed to go somewhere. Evan started his plan on Rebecca while Ray fought the monsters and disciples of the eugenics. After the attack on Ray, the butterflies from Amelia's butterfly effect appeared in the area. Amelia and the others came to help him and together they fought against the monsters. Meanwhile, Maria went to where Rebecca and Evan was located. After they defeated most of the monsters, Evan's other colleagues appeared and one of them was Paratrogo. It was about to attack Amelia but Ray blocked it. The enemies also left there immediately and Ray followed them. As he chased them, he remembered what Rebecca's father said about the curse in the Bradley family's blood. He added that Rebecca's being a cruise only happens once in 100 years. When it arrived at Rebecca's place, they found out that the one who was with Rebecca was not the real Evan. It was Lise, who Maria had met the other day. In Evan's anger on Lise, he attacked her immediately. For 10 years, Lise pretended to be him, which was the reason why Evan hated her. Evan's plan was to reach the so-called Akasa, and for this to happen he needed the cruise, which was Rebecca. Evan also attacked Rebecca but Lise protected her. She used her powers to bring Rebecca away from Evan. Then she took Evan into another dimension. Just a few moments later, Ray also came there. He immediately recognized Paratrogo because of his attack on Amelia, which had the intention of eating her engram. When Paratrogo attacked, he just bumped on the mirror made by Lise. She talked to Ray and introduced herself as a fabrication sorcerer. She added that she planned to overheat Rebecca and asked Ray to seal her with the Chronos lock. When Paratrogo broke the glass, Ray released the Chronos lock and they fought. While Lise went to Evan in another dimension to face him. With Paratrogo's strength, he easily destroyed Ray's Iceblade. When Evan and Lise faced each other, Evan said that he no longer cared about eugenics, Akasa and Cruz, and what was important to him now was to kill her. Evan used the Dark Triad system, which was similar to what Gray used. He also became a monster after it was injected into his brain. When Evan attacked, he suddenly froze before his attack could land on Lise. Then Lise used her apotheosis, which caused Evan to be defeated in their fight quickly. Evan was amazed at the strength of the fabrication sorcerer, but according to Lise, the Iceblade sorcerer was still the strongest among them, for it has the ability to rule the entire world. After Amelia killed the monsters, they thought that everything was over, but the monsters suddenly came back to life. When the monsters attacked them, Lydia and the others came to their rescue. With the great strength of the Grand Sorcerers, they defeated all the monsters in the area. For the final attack, Lydia used her Ragnarok. The other students were stunned while watching the great powers of the Grand Sorcerers. As Ray and Paratrogo continued their fight, Paratrogo released his full power and attacked Ray. Meanwhile, Maria blamed her sister for what was happening now with Ray and others because Rebecca did not talk to them about the important things needed to be discussed. Paratrogo managed to strangle Ray, but he used the Iceblade so Paratrogo would release him. After it's attacked, Ray used the Pandora. Then Paratrogo realized why the Iceblade sorcerer was the strongest among others, and then he froze and was defeated. Ray deactivated the Chronos lock again and he fell to the ground after the fight. Rebecca was about to approach Ray to help him, but Maria stopped her. Then the fight between them started and they let out their grudges against each other. While Rebecca was crying, she suddenly brightened. After a while, Ray woke up and Lise came back from another dimension with Evan. Amelia and the others arrived to their location, but Lydia stopped them from getting close to Rebecca because she was starting to overheat. Ray approached Rebecca and asked Maria to step back. When he got close to Rebecca, Ray activated the Chronos lock on her, and this was the reason why Rebecca was saved. Meanwhile, Lex immediately informed Rebecca and Maria's father about the good news. One day, Ray visited Howard and he introduced him to his new friends whom he vowed to protect for the rest of his life. And that's the end of our story. I hope you like the story of Ray and the Sorcerers. Please give it a thumbs up, then subscribe to my channel so you won't miss newly uploaded videos. Thank you for watching.